Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Ms. Novita, for the introduction. And my name is Indra Julianto, and I will be the moderator for this session. Entitled Accelerating Clean Mobility as part for the Indonesian Green Connect 2025. This program is a collaboration between Energy Academy Indonesia IKADIN and Science Technology Park DKST ITB. Indonesia transport sector is key to meeting climate goal, but as a major emitter, it must rapidly transition to low emission solution. This shift needs modern technology. It requires a sector collaboration, clear policy, strong regulation, digital readiness, and major investment in future-ready infrastructure like EV charging station, smart grid, and sustainable aviation networks. This panel will explore how stakeholders from the transport, energy, aviation, and digital section can work together to accelerate Indonesia's transition toward cleaner and more connected mobility. The discussion will focus on practical, scalable innovation and inclusive strategies, aiming to align with national climate changes while able creating long-term economics opportunity and equitable development across regions. Before we begin with this session, allow me to introduce our esteemed panelists for this session. I would like to welcoming the panelist, Mr. Cyrille Schwob. Please come to the stage. Head of Research and Technology Airbus for Pacific. Dr. Cyrille Schwob is Head of Technology for Airbus Asia Pacific, leading regional R&D and innovation effort. He has held various technical and leadership roles across France, China, Malaysia, and Singapore. He holds a PhD in structural computational and in MBA with academic backgrounds from Ecole Polytechnique and INS Kaisan. And the second panelist, I would like to invite Mr. Muhammad Pandito Pratama. Mr. Pandito is the Division Head of Corporate Planning and Risk Management at PT Transportasi Jakarta. He was named Asia's Top Outstanding Youth Marketer of the Year 2024 and earned runner-up Best Policy Analysis Exercise at the National University of Singapore, where he completed his Master of Public Policy with distinction as a Lee Kasing Foundation Full Scholar. And for the third panelist, I would like to invite Mr. Gunawan Wasisto. Please welcome. Mr. Gunawan Wasisto is Vice President of Sustainability at PT Telkom Indonesia Tbk. He is Vice President of Sustainability at PT Telkom Indonesia Tbk with a background in risk strategy and over a decade of experience in IPTV, OTT, ESG, and enterprise risk management. He holds a telecommunication engineering degree from ITS. Okay. Now, our panel session will explore the theme Accelerating Clean Mobility, where each panelist will share insight from the experience and perspective. Without further ado, let's begin the panel session with Mr. Schwob.
Yes.
In the context of clean mobility, I would like, what are the critical enablers needed to ensure Indonesia's clean mobility ecosystem is credible, scalable, and internationally aligned?
Okay, thank you for the question. Of course, being from Airbus, I'm going to focus on the aviation part of the mobility, right? And before we dive into what is needed for a credible transition to sustainable aviation in Indonesia, I have a diagram which is explaining what's a credible, sustainable aviation at all. Right? And so aviation is no secret, right? It's a very hard to abate sector for emissions, but still we have a plan. Right? And so when I say very hard sector to abate, you have the image here. What you have on this diagram is emission linked to aviation. And you see that you measure them in the gigaton of CO2. And you have a beautiful diagram with several colors. And let's start from the top line, which is basically explaining or measuring, predicting what should be the emission linked to aviation if we do nothing, right? We are in a sector that is growing, so if we don't improve on the situation, if we don't have better airplane, if we don't make an effort to make it sustainable, emissions are going to grow, and they're going to grow very fast, all the way to 2 gigaton of CO2 per year, which of course is not acceptable. So aviation as an industry, we have a plan, and the plan relies on 5 pillars. One of them is using newer airplane, very easy to understand. The older airplane, they are less efficient. Second pillar is technology, because not only you need newer airplane, but you need to improve and push the boundaries again and again. And so this is what Airbus is clearly accountable for. We do a lot of R&D to make sure that our airplanes are more and more efficient, generation over generation over generation. And it's important to know that every 20 years, airplanes are 25% more efficient than the previous generation. So we are really putting a strong effort on this one. Then you have a little band here in orange, which is how we use the airplane, the operations. And I want to highlight this one because it's very important. Later we'll see for Indonesia. And basically it's the same as a car. If you're stuck in traffic jam, you're emitting way more than when you're on the highway, and it's less efficient. So we need to be more efficient on the way we use our airplane. And then a very, very visible one is sustainable fuel, what you have in green on this diagram. It's almost half of the solution because there is so much you can do on an airplane. In the end, it's still going to be 2 engines in the air that are burning fuel. So we need to make sure that the fuel itself is sustainable, and this is what we call sustainable aviation fuel. And the last thing you see in gray at the bottom is whatever we do, there will always be a bit of remaining emissions, and so these we can tackle with market-based measure, carbon pricing, or these kind of things. So all of these, of course, they don't rely on the shoulder of Indonesia. If we want to put a filter, what's important for Indonesia to have a credible transition in terms of aviation, I want to highlight 2 of them. The operations one, how to make sure airplanes are used to their full capacity to optimize the traffic routing of them. And the second one is the use of sustainable fuel. And if we want to create a credible ecosystem for this, then first we need infrastructure. If you're talking about fuel, you need to be able to deliver the fuel, so you need blending infrastructure in Indonesia, pipeline for sustainable fuel, and so and so. Same story for traffic management. You need improved infrastructure to enable to leverage the capability of the aircraft to minimize optimize their trajectory.
Okay,
If
thank
you
you.
want-
Thank you very much, Mr. Schwob.
Ah, you.
I would like to
Okay.
move
Give it,
the
but
question.
let me finish maybe just the logic. We need infrastructure. If we have infrastructure, is to put something in it. So we need supply and the industry to develop production of sustainable fuel itself. If you want this, you need the banking and the financing to be ready for this. And if you want this, you need to work on the regulatory framework to make sure that, for one, you have some demand. So this is like road mapping for targets, for sustainable usage, but also road mapping for supporting the supply, how we can support it. And then you have like a full loop. Once you have the regulatory system, you can have the infrastructure, the supply, and then this is what we need for a credible ecosystem.
Thank you very much. And I will go to Mr. Pandito. The same question. What are the critical enablers needed to ensure Indonesia's clean mobility ecosystem is credible, scalable, and internationally aligned?
Okay, thank you for the question. Hello, everyone. Got my,
Hello.
do I get that attention? First, I want to ask, has any of you come to here using public transport? Either angkot or public buses? How many of you using public transport to this hall today? 1, 2? Only 2? 3? Okay, you can get card from me. Nanti dikasih. Yeah, so in terms of sustainable transportation, we in Transjakarta do believe that the most sustainable way of transportation is public transport. So yes, we do currently have for about 300 electric buses, and we aim to reach for about 500 buses in the end of the year. And in terms of implementing this, we have a very strong support from the Jakarta provincial government in terms of regulation, also in terms of support in the policy making. And I think what we need in other cities is also a good policy, because currently provincial government of Jakarta is targeting that Transjakarta electric vehicle reaching 50% of the fleet by 2027 and 100% in 2030. So I think the first is the political support and the policy making itself. And then the next one is the capability of the management itself, because implementing sustainable transportation, whether it's public transport or EV, required deep technical knowledge. Currently, all of our buses is coming from China. We have several brand of buses. It's BYD, King Long, and also Zongtong. To determine these buses, it requires a lot of study, and happily enough, we pay the buses by the rupiah per kilometer. And surprisingly, the rupiah per kilometer for electric vehicle is 6% lower than the ICE, the internal combustion engine. So it's sustainable in a way that for environment, and also it's sustainable in terms of financial outlook because it's cheaper. And currently, provincial government of Jakarta is trying to amend the regulation of public buses. So in Jakarta right now, the lifespan of the bus is 10 years. We are trying to amend it into 15 years. As I said earlier, it's about the policy making to make it successful.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Pandito. And now I'll go to Mr. Gunawan Wasisto. Same question. What are the critical enablers needed to ensure Indonesia's clean mobility infrastructure ecosystem which is credible, scalable, and internationally aligned.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, maybe I will give my opinion, yeah, from telco perspective, because, yeah, frankly speaking, yeah, previously I'm just curious why telco company put into this panel discussion, yeah, clean mobility. Okay, so I will share about how we initiate for clean mobility, yeah, in our perspective in telco. So the key enabler is like, first is how we provide integrated digital infrastructure platform. So when we want to deliver clean mobility, so the infrastructure, not only for the EV ecosystem infrastructure, but also the connectivity, including the platform like a payment, need to be integrated. That's first. For example, I come to this place not by public transportation.
And no worries, Pak.
Yeah, I drive my EV. Okay, come to this. Before let's say 10 minutes before I arrive in this place, I just check into mobile phone and then check where is the EV charger that available. I need to charge. Okay, so I can check real time directly. So for the clean mobility, we need to integrate all of the things, the pay infrastructure, also the connectivity. The second is the standardization. You can imagine if let's say the port for EV very different in every car brand. Yeah. Let's say there are some port like CCS, CHAdeMO, Type 2, etc., GPT. Yeah. We need to have a standardization for the EV port charger. So the EV charger must provide all of the port charger that need by the user. Yeah. The third is how we collaborate between all of the ecosystem, all of the related party. Let's say for the government, for the incentive, for the regulation, for the EV manufacturer, and also the telco company need to be collaborate to provide this clean mobility. So everyone is mandatory to collaborate on this initiative to build this clean mobility. And I believe that we can reach our target net zero 2060. Maybe we'll be faster, yeah. Let's say 2050. Okay, but until now, yeah, we still have a target for 2060. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Gunawan. Now, I'll go back to Dr. Cyrille Schwob. What are the key barriers to scaling up sustainable aviation technologies? And how is Airbus addressing this through R&D and multi-sector collaboration?
Before I answer this, I want to rebound to what you were saying. For your particular case, if you do sustainable fleet of bus, you find it cheaper than to do ICE powered bus. Right? Yeah. It says the per kilometer value is actually lower. Right? And unfortunately for aviation, this is not the case. When you do sustainable powered aircraft, it's actually way more expensive than fossil fuel powered aircraft. And this is the main barrier today that we see. Right? And when I say more expensive, it's not like 10% more. Right? Today, it's few 100% more. And the problem is when you look at SAF, we look at the sustainable aviation fuel, 60 to 90% of the cost of it is actually only the first ingredient you put in it. You know, we call it the feedstock, right? The original ingredient from which you're going to refine on your way to producing sustainable fuel. And these ingredients, they're supposed to be waste. Right? The way we look at it initially is we want to get the waste from agriculture, the used cooking oil, all these kind of things. And they're supposed to be very cheap. And when they are cheap, it can give some ideas to people like Pertamina, for example. You say, okay, I have a cheap resources. I'm willing to put billions on the table. I refine it, and then I create some value for everybody. I create some new fuel, some green fuel that people can use. And then this is where the problem starts to kick in, right? Because people are greedy, right? And so once you start to create value and everybody knows about this value, and the original feedstock that initially was very cheap, now it's becoming expensive because people understand, realize there is an opportunity. Right? And the minute this thing starts to be expensive, but it starts to be way more expensive to produce it, it's way more expensive for people to use it, and the whole business plan collapse, and the whole value generating idea for sustainability collapse also. Right? And so it's not the only blocker. Of course, there is a bit of technical things that needs to happen. There are many things, right? But for me, the root of the problem in this sustainable aviation roadmap is this: how can we make sure that the initial ingredient is going to be allocated and priced correctly so that it can be used and generating benefits for everybody. And this cannot happen without intervention of regulation from the government and thinking how to optimize the value for everybody. So this is what I try to explain in this beautiful diagram. You start from a cheap resources, it's justifying huge amount of investment for a business case, it's creating value, but the minute you create value, people try to tap into it, and the whole thing collapses, and we need to do something about that.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Schwob. Now I go back to Mr. Pandito. What is the Transjakarta roadmap to achieve 100% electric bus operating by 2030? And how is it balancing environmental ambition and with operational readiness?
Okay, thank you for your question. So, how do we get to 2030 by 100% of electric buses? So currently we operating for about 5,000 fleet, comprised of 2,000 of single and articulated big buses, 12 meter and more. And then we also have for about 2,500 microbuses, like Angkot, we call it microtrans in Jakarta. And also we have for about 500 to 1,000 medium buses, the medium-sized buses, like you can see here in Bandung. Yeah. So it's already in the regulation of the government of Jakarta that we need to electrify the fleet by 2030. And our strategy is first after the retirement of the certain fleet, so the fleet procurement in Jakarta is starting in 2016. So it means next year, some of it is already, should be retired. For about 200 or 300, we replace them directly with EV, especially if it's single bus. But the current challenge is it's quite hard to find. It's okay to find an electric vehicle that is a single buses. Single buses is the medium, the 12-meter buses, like the one that you see, the regular size of buses. But it's very hard to find an electric buses for articulated bus, and also the medium bus. Because all over the world, usually they use the regular buses, the 12-meter buses. The articulated buses, I think it's only some of the cities that have BRT system. It's like Jakarta or Bogota in Colombia. And the medium bus is even more expensive because it's very few cities using medium bus because the capacity is low, but we need to use it in Jakarta because the width of the road is very narrow. So not all of the road can be passed by the single buses, the 12-meter buses. So that's its challenge. Currently we are trying to mix and match the width of the road and the type of the bus. So some of the microtrans, the Angkot, is trying to be replaced to EV. I think we are planning next year for about 300 of EV. So the first strategy is to replace and then to procure. But we need to find a very delicate number of this fleet because the ideal number of the buses is very tricky right now. Currently, Jakarta public transport already reached 91% of the area in Jakarta. So it means 9 out of 10 people already has an access to public transport by 500 meters of walking. So it's very tricky to grow the number even more because the roads are limited.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Pandito. Now I come back to Mr. Gunawan with a question. How is Telkom leveraging digital infrastructure and connected solution to enhance Indonesia's transition to smart, low-emission mobility system?
Okay. In our operational activity, of course, we will produce emission. So, related to the clean mobility, we calculate our emission, scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3. Clean mobility in our operational related to the scope 1. Let's say, for example, for the operational vehicle that use in operational daily. So we already success to reduce our emissions from 2030 until 2023 to 2024. We success to reduce only small percent, reduce 2% from our vehicle optimizations, and we also has initiative to replace our ICE vehicle into EV vehicle. The policy in our company, all of the BOD mandatory using EV. All of the BOD means one is also mandatory using EV. And 70% for all of our operational EV, operational vehicle is already using EV. Okay. The second is we also have a solution from our subsidiary Telkomsel, using IoT to monitor the fleet of the company. So from the IoT we can monitor and optimize the route, the fuel consumption, like this, and it can also increase the safety. Because it can detect, let's say, fatigue detector like that, and so for the IoT, I mean, it can support for not only for the fuel efficiency but also for the safety itself. We have target for net zero 2060, but we have target in 2030 midterm target 20% reductions in all of scope. Of course, this need collaboration because if we are focusing in only on, let's say, emission factor, the main barrier is in upfront cost. It's very expensive for us. So we need collaboration, let's say, for the grid from the grid company, PLN, to provide us with a clean energy. And also, we hope there are some incentive or good policy from governments, let's say incentive for investment in solar panel, etc.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Gunawan Wasisto. As we close to the end of this panel session, on behalf of the committee, I would like to extend my sincere appreciation to our panelists, Dr. Cyrille Schwob, Mr. Muhammad Pandito Pratama, Mr. Gunawan Wasisto, for their insightful discussion, and to all participants for your attention and engagement. I will now excuse myself to the moderator, as moderator for this panel session, and we hope that this session will inspire meaningful action toward building a cleaner, more connected, and more equitable transport future. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Tolong berikan tepuk tangan yang meriah kepada para pembicara dan juga moderator.